You're a business owner and you're wondering how to create a perfect Instagram bio. You came to the right place. Before we get started, I actually created a Instagram optimization checklist that you can download using the link in the description box. Everything I cover in this video is in the checklist, and it's basically an easier way for you to go through all of the items and check them off and make sure that your Instagram bio is perfect. So I'm gonna hop over to my computer and let's get started. I'm gonna be using this template that I pulled up in Canva. It's just your basic Instagram profile template. Mind you, it's not super up to date anymore, but for our purposes, it's gonna do just fine. I'm gonna be using this example of what's already pre-made on the template. I assume this is a plant shop, so we're just gonna pretend that it's a plant shop located in Columbia, Missouri, because that's the first place that came to mind. Let's start with the username. So the username is this part right here. It is also called the Instagram handle. It usually has a little @ in front of it if you want to search for it or if you want to tag someone on Instagram. This is basically what people are gonna see when you comment on somebody else's post, when you like somebody else's post, etc. And the Instagram handle is supposed to be something that's going to be uniform across all of your platforms. So that means that if you're going to have Borchale plans, I don't know how to pronounce it. If you're going to have Borchale plans on Instagram, you should also have it ideally as your website name, ideally as your TikTok handle, Twitter handle, etc. Now the handle isn't super important in terms of SEO and searchability, but it definitely does help to have some sort of a sense of what your account is about just from the handle, because like I said, people are gonna see this when you comment on their posts. Usually what people do is just have their either name if they're a solopreneur or their company name if you have a company. So in this case, it's Borchale Plants. We might also call it something like Borchale Plant Shop. It is recommended not to make this too complicated for people to type out. So the ultimate ideal case scenario is to have one word with no special characters, in this case Borchale Plant Shop. What is acceptable is having underscores, for example, like so, if the handle name that you were originally interested in is already taken. You can also use dots. If you're gonna use special characters, I'm gonna recommend you to stick to one special character. You don't wanna have more than one, because then it just gets super annoying for the person to have to switch between different characters when trying to type out your name. But like I said, try to keep it to ideally 0 characters, but the less the better. The next on the list is the Instagram profile picture. If you're a business, you should put your business logo as your profile picture. If you're a business, do not put your personal selfie up, please. Using your logo, you need to make sure that the logo doesn't have any small unreadable text. The easy way to test that out is literally you just take your logo, upload it into your Instagram and check it on your phone. It's important to check it on your phone because that's where it's going to be the smallest. If the text that is on there is not legible, you should remove it. So in this case, you can see that I added a little Columbia, Missouri underneath the little B logo, and we're on a desktop right now, and if you really squinted, you could probably read it, but it's unlikely. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna remove Columbia, Missouri and just leave the B in there as it is. Now, on the other hand, if we're talking about a personal brand, in that case, you would want to use a photo of you as your profile picture. The number one reason is that people want to buy from people. People crave a connection in this digital day and age. So showing your face on your social media is definitely a good way to create the connection with your audience. There are, however, some rules that apply to that. Let me just whip up a photo of a woman here because we love and support women. So if you're a solopreneur or a face brand, your logo should be a photo of you, preferably one that's a little bit more, professional looking or that embodies your brand and what you do. It should have a clear, uncluttered background, so not like me right now, for example. If I was to take this photo and put it on my social media, I would not be happy with it as my profile picture. The background should be either solid or have some sort of a graphic behind it. Something that basically tells people, oh, this person is a professional, it's not just another personal account. Moving on to your Instagram name. So I know it can get quite confusing. This is the Instagram username, aka the Instagram handle, and this is your Instagram name. So the Instagram name is probably one of the most important parts of your profile because it is the part that is searchable. In our case of a business, what we would want to put here is what we do. This is super important. I see this all the time where people and brands and entrepreneurs don't have what they do in their Instagram name, and it is really hurting their searchability. So in this case, Borchel Plant House. Don't know what a plant house is, but since we said we're a plant shop, we're gonna say Borchel Plant Shop. What you might want to do here, if A, it is relevant to your brand, and B, you have enough space to spare in your Instagram name because it also has a limit, you might want to put in your location. So in this case, we do have some space left and it is relevant because we're a brick and mortar shop. So we're gonna put in Missouri, Columbia. Using the pipe character, I don't know if you would call it a character, probably. Using the pipe separator over here is a really good way to separate your words. Like I said, this part is really important for searchability, so this is where you should put all of your keywords. Think of what your ideal customer would put into a Google search engine to find your establishment. So in this case, it's gonna be a plant shop in Missouri, Columbia. We've got all of that information there. Perfect. Now, if we're talking about a entrepreneur, solopreneur brand, you would definitely want to put your name on there. It is up to you if you want to use your full name or just your first name. This might also depend on how many characters you have left, but we're just gonna put Anna Parks. Let's say that Anna Parks is a business coach. Since Anna works remotely, she works with clients all over the place, she doesn't really need a location in her bio, so we're not gonna put that in here. Now, let's get to the probably most misused part of the Instagram profile, which is the Instagram bio, and it is this part right here. There is a limit for this of 150 characters, so make sure you stick within that. Obviously, if you don't, Instagram is gonna cut off your text, and that's not a good look. You should ideally have one line per bullet point. By bullet point, I just mean like get your own plant, Columbia, Missouri, phone number. Those are our 3 separate bullet points. This is because it just A, makes your Instagram profile look much tidier, and B, it is so much easier to just read and skim through your profile. Another tip, you should make sure that your Instagram bio fits perfectly without you having to click on see more. It is good practice to have your bio short enough so that people don't have to do that, because a lot of the times they're probably not going to. If they're just checking out your profile, they don't have the time to check out what you have hiding in your Instagram bio, unless they're really interested in you. And the last general rule, no funky fonts, please. I see this all the time on Instagram. I know it's different, I know it's quirky, but it makes the content in your Instagram bio unsearchable, which means that you're really hurting the discoverability of your brand. Just stick to regular old Instagram fonts and you'll be just fine. If you want to add some interest, you can add some emojis instead of your bullet points. We'll get to that later. But most importantly, let's talk about the content. So this part of your Instagram bio should contain a couple of key things. Number 1, who do you help? Number 2, what do you do? How do you help these people? If you don't already have it in your Instagram name, your bio needs to have a location and your bio needs to have a call to action. Now let's break these up a little bit. So the first one, who are you? We already have that in here in this part right here, Borchel Plant Shop. What you do. Now, that is something that we don't have in our Instagram bio. So if we're a plant shop, we might say something like providing Colombia with lush greenery or something. Who you help is not really relevant for a plant business, so we're not gonna put that in here. And lastly, a call to action. So we did actually have one on there. It was get a plant, but we want to make it something a little bit more spicy. So what we're gonna do is check out our latest stock. This is what we call a call to action. It basically encourages the reader to do something, perform an action, in this case to check out our latest stock. This is looking a little bit boring, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some emojis that I mentioned before. These should ideally be relevant to each bullet point. If you can make it relevant, then great. If not, then do your best. So we're gonna use a plant for this one because we're providing Columbia, Missouri with lush greenery. And for the other one, we're gonna do a shopping cart or something like that, because we want you to shop, shop, shop. And what we're also gonna do here is add a little down arrow button here. The arrow is going to drive your eyes downwards towards the link, which is our next point that we need to discuss here. The link should, number one, be the best place that you want to redirect your audience to. This is really up to preference, whether you want to either A, put multiple links in your Instagram, or B, use some sort of a link aggregator, link that to your Instagram. However, I would not recommend using a external link aggregator if possible. What I mean by that is an external link aggregator is some sort of a third-party app like a Linktree. I can't think of any other names from the top of my head, but I'm sure there are others. And the reason for that is that if you're a business that has their own website, it's generally better to create a link aggregator of your own that is located on your website, on your domain. That means that every time somebody goes to your Instagram, they click on the link, it redirects them to your website, which means it drives traffic on your website, and having higher traffic on your website is better for your ranking on search engines. And obviously you want that because you want people to go to your websites and buy all of your stuff. Another thing is that if you use a link aggregator or some sort of a third-party link that redirects you to other places, you can make it look more visually appealing. It can look less cluttered. You can use some visual imagery with it, like, I don't know, emojis, colors. You can add little thumbnails for your latest blog posts into your link aggregator. So if you were a Birch Hill plant shop, you would probably only want to redirect your customers to your website at birchhillplantshop.com. If, however, you were Anna Parks, the business coach, you would probably have multiple places that she would want you to see. One of them being your website, the other one being your free checklist that she is telling you to download here. So I think for Anna in particular, it would be better to use some sort of a link aggregator that takes you from her Instagram to her link aggregator, which is actually hosted on her website, which means it drives traffic to her website. And from then you would be able to click to whatever you were looking for. Now we're almost nearing the end. Let's now talk about the highlights. The highlights are this section over here. It is right underneath your follow, message, contact buttons. The highlights usually serve as a form of showcasing something that you want people to see. If you're a plant shop, the best use for this that I can think of is showcasing your services and actions that you were showing on your stories, your giveaway results, your customer reviews, or some sort of events. Or I added an others one for other things that don't fall into any other categories. You want to stick to a less is more rule here. So ideally you would want to have 4 highlights. And that is because if you have too many highlights, it's gonna overwhelm your audience and nobody's actually gonna scroll that far unless they're like really interested in you or they're stalking you. And make it look good. This is a very important part of your Instagram profile because it is very visible. So you should make sure that it's consistent with your brand colors. It's consistent with your feed. Here I just pulled some colors from the posts over here so you can see that they are reflected in the posts, making it look relatively cohesive. One thing I would change is I would probably change it from darkest colors to the lightest color. I don't really like the way it looks, but I didn't think of that when I was making that. When you first create the highlights, it's gonna automatically put on a little snippet of the story that you created the highlight from. You want to add covers. It's really easy to add covers. You do need to upload them manually, unfortunately, but it just makes your whole profile look so much better, so why not just do it? It is recommended to have some sort of a cute icon on there so that, you know, it visually speaks for what the highlight is about. But if you don't have icons, just use a color palette or different colors that are sourced from your brand colors or your post colors. And lastly, let's talk about pinned posts. So pinned posts are posts at the top of your page. They're different from normal posts because when you add new posts, I've said the word posts like a million times. When you add new posts, they stay in the same place. They don't get replaced by your most recent post. I'm so sorry. I don't know what else to say. Content? Yeah, content works. Okay, I should have thought of that. So they basically stay in the same place and don't get replaced by your newer content, and this makes it perfect for pinning posts that are relevant at the time. So that means if you have a sale that is happening, or if you have an event that you're organizing, something that is kind of time sensitive that's relevant right now, you can pin it to the top of your page. And when people come to your page, it's going to be one of the first things that they see. Another thing that you can pin to the top of your Instagram is evergreen content. That basically means something that is always relevant. If you're a plant shop, it could be opening hours. It could be where you source your plants from. I don't know, something like that. If you're a service provider like Anna Parks, it could be client testimonials. It could be list of services she offers. Basically something that doesn't go out of style. That's a wrong way to put it, but that is basically what it's good for. And that's about it. I know it was a lot of information. Remember that I have the checklist in the description box linked below if you want to have a paper version of everything that I just covered in this video. If you're interested in more frequent social media tips, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you here for my next one. Bye!